Why does a person like notes more than any other strategy? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of NoteSchool TV, where every week at 11:05 Central Time on Wednesdays, we bring you the most exciting and amazing guests, as well as the most exciting and amazing content. This week is no different, so just kind of hold on just a minute, or as Eddie would say, keep your powder dry for a minute, and we're going to bring our guest for today on. Before we do, some housekeeping. So if you would, go ahead and like this episode. Yep, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have not already subscribed to NoteSchool TV, then certainly go in and subscribe to NoteSchool TV. And, well, number 3 would be to hit that bell notification. Boom. So that you will know when we're about to go live. When? Every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. Also, make sure and continue to send us your comments and your questions and all of that so that we can kind of keep in touch with you. We'll see what's going on in your market. So please share with us, and then also share these episodes of NoteSchool TV with your friends, your business friends, and everybody you know. Okay. And if you'd like to know more about what we do at NoteSchool, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And with that, we're going to bring on, well, founder of NoteSchool, chief visionary officer, that guy that's always looking out there over the horizon. All around good guy, my friend, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. We have a world-class guest today, and we're going to really be able to talk a little bit about what you said at the beginning, and that is, why do you pick notes over other things? And I think it's going to become a little more clear to everybody, if not a lot more clear. So I'm excited about that.
That is for sure. Well, Eddie, let's run through the news here real quick for this week, and we'll get you on with our guests. So, all right. So we've been looking at kind of the housing predictions as we move through the year. So yeah, we've just moved into July. Can't believe it, but here's kind of the way that the, air quotes, experts see us finishing up the year, Eddie. So Fannie Mae says that sees current home prices rising 4.8 year over year by the end of 2024. And then the Mortgage Bankers Association, the MBA, is saying about 4.3. And then finally, NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is looking at, they're a little more conservative, and they're at 2% overall by the end of the year. And that's what it's looking at from more than one source. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a consistency. It was believed kind of at the beginning of the year it was going to be flatter than that.
Mm-hmm.
Not much appreciation. So I think if we can land in those numbers, that would be awesome. But once again, it kind of makes the rental property scenario just a little more in the direction of notes, right? You pay more on a higher rate, you get less cash flow. Consumers, hopefully, they'll be able to get a break on rates towards the end of the year.
And that we will see. We will see that as well, right? We'll see what happens there as Chairman Powell kind of manipulates the system as we go through the rest of the year for sure.
That's it,
Eddie. I am going to drop off. You and our guest have a great show. I'll be in the background, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Well, I am very excited today. Our guest is definitely a veteran with NoteSchool, but he goes back down memory lane with us to his beginning of NoteSchool and talks about kind of that journey, because a lot of people wonder about that. What's that journey look like? And a big thing is, like, how do you start out finding deals, acquiring deals, and kind of keeping that momentum going? And so finding notes and sealing deals early in the game is where we're going to where we're going to start with his conversation, and then we'll progress into kind of what he's at today. And you'll find out something very interesting about this guest. This guest now is responsible for a lot of other people keeping the momentum going and buying notes. In fact, he helps a lot of them do that. And we're going to talk about how that works on the backside. So you guys welcome my friend, Mr. Justin Bogard.
Hey, Eddie.
How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm good. I know that you and I are pretty fired up about the market.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that towards the end.
Okay.
But Justin, you're a veteran. You've been with us a long time now, right?
I've been with NoteSchool for about 8 years now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we kind of watched your girls grow up, hadn't we?
Yeah, you have. You've seen them from when they were little Taekwondo students to now they're Taylor Swift teenagers. So.
Well, that's awesome. You're a good dad. We're very proud of you for your family first initiative, and we always consider that the greatest trait. And as those girls grow up, you'll figure that out, that you made some good choices to focus on those girls first. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's talk about really where people start. They get fired up. They want to go do notes. They go do a class. They go do something like that. And then all of a sudden it's from excitement to execution.
Yeah.
Right. It's finding notes and really getting it going, sealing those deals and progressing down the line. And so we're going to go back down memory lane for you a little bit and talk about what that looked like for you and why. So first of all, let me ask you a very important question, and that is, you were a full-time house buyer.
I was. Yes.
And you flipped switch and you went to notes. Why'd you do that?
Pretty quickly. I lost money. I lost money trying to flip houses. I lost money trying to be a landlord. And it was apparent to me that wasn't the part of real estate that was most beneficial to me. And it was very soon after I started what I call traditional real estate when I discovered NoteSchool. And actually Joe Varnador came to our town and was doing a little teaser on about buying mortgage notes, and then kind of had me hooked. I got interested. I went to a class, and I still remember to this day, and I know Joe's heard this story from me 1,000 times, but there was a guy on a slide that was wearing a business suit, and he was pulling a wagon full of cash. And he was like, picturing being the bank, and was like, oh my God, that's so right. I'm tired of paying the bank all this interest for these deals. It seems like they're doing nothing and making this money. And I was like, okay, now I can reverse the roles. And that's kind of when my eyes opened up and said, I don't need to be doing this other thing. I need to be doing the note thing.
That's great. Well, there's a lot more people know about flipping houses and rentals than they know about notes, but it's not because it's better. It's because this strategy isn't as well known. There's not as many people that do it, which means it's not as crowded. Right. And so I've always kind of liked that. I know a lot of house flippers, as you well know, and you do too. And everybody, knows somebody that flips houses or has rentals, and not so many people know people that have notes. But when you learn this little thing, it makes a difference, right?
It does. It's kind of like the catch-all, if you will. Once you know this strategy, any other strategy can be defined from it. And that's kind of where it's created and where it's exited from is the note strategy.
All right. So let's go back down memory lane. So you come to a class, and we do pretty good at a class at kind of painting a picture and showing people these different things, as you had that little mental image of that guy pulling that wheelbarrow full of money. Yeah. That's the deal architect image that we, do in the class. Right. And it does resonate. Right. So what was your initial strategy for acquiring notes?
Well, number one, I didn't have a lot of money. So I gave a lot of my money away on the losses that I had before. Yeah. So I had to have a ton of hustle and a ton of tenacity to be able to make this work. And so the simple strategy for me was to make what we call fee income, where I can find a deal I can find a buyer for that deal, and I can be the professional in between that can commence the deal.
Right.
And that's how I started off.
Most people, Justin, that come down the trail with NoteSchool don't really have that story. They're not full-time.
Yeah.
And they're not really reliant on just earning fee income to get started. Yeah. So you picked the hardest path.
I always do.
Yeah, me too, right? But that's why I respect you so much, is that you did what you needed to do to get what you wanted to get. There's a reason, though, that you picked notes versus rentals also, and it was a family reason, right?
Yeah, it's cash flows, to being able to live a lifestyle that I'm not devoted to a property or waiting for that phone to ring on the next deal, or waiting for a contractor to call me to say there's a problem. Like I didn't want that sort of stress.
Yeah.
I wanted to have more control of what is happening, and no better to have control than to be the bank.
Well, and you had 2 little girls you were raising, right?
Yeah.
And so you didn't need to be gone at certain times of the day.
Yeah.
So you figured out you could do the note business from anywhere, right? Where are you from? What town?
I'm in Fishers, Indiana.
Okay, that's right outside of Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of northeast, outside of the main loop of Indianapolis.
But you could do the note business in Texas or Montana or Atlanta from there, right?
Yeah, I actually lived in a camper for 13 months and was doing the note business just in my camper, traveling around.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so big question people have out there. Like, I don't know about this business. Eddie says it's great. Joe's all excited about it, but are there really enough notes to buy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot more inventory than you and I can even fathom what that number is.
Yeah.
And that's just the ones that we know about that are recorded, right? That we have data on. There's a whole slew of shadow inventory that is out there that we don't know what that number is. It could be double, could be triple of what we see now.
Yeah. 100,000 notes a year, about 100,000 seller finance notes a year right now, more now than we were seeing because of all the market conditions. Let's talk about your initial steps in finding notes. Where were you finding notes?
Well, because I went through NoteSchool, at the time that I went through NoteSchool, NoteSchool had a sister company called Colonial Funding Group. And so that group also had a fund that they managed. Yep. And so because they manage this fund, they have thousands of notes in their portfolio at disposal. And then as students, we could pick through those notes and we could have that inventory. So that was obviously the easiest catch right there was to fish out of that pond right there to find the notes. So step one was easy. I had the notes in front of me. Yeah. I had the skill set and I had the network behind me to underwrite the files. And step two was figure out who can I sell these notes to and make money.
Yeah, that really, as we ran a training business, we figured out really quick that people wanting us to go find notes for them became the biggest one thing. If you could do that, like, they looked at us and said, okay, you guys know how to find notes. You know how to evaluate notes. You have the confidence in buying notes. If you could lend me some of that, that would really take me a long way to success. And so we kind of took that to heart. So definitely that's a factor. Let's talk about your learning curve a little bit, right? How did you get over your initial learning curve?
Well, I remember Ben Haught, who is one of the key people in the 3-day class that you all meet when you go to a 2-day class. He kind of gave me the best advice of all. And he's like, Justin, there's nothing better than to learn from someone else's experience. And the only way you learn from somebody else's experience is on our deal labs. And we have 3 shows a week, and they're archived, and you can go back and listen to as many several years back. And this was back in 2016 when I first joined NoteSchool. And then that's what I did. I watched probably hundreds and hundreds of deal labs and listened to all the case studies and the great questions that were asked. And you just pick up things and you learn things and you hear about traits that resonate with you. And then you can take forth that action and move your due diligence skill level down the path.
Yeah. And remember, folks, he was pursuing the toughest way to do this, not the easiest way to do it, right? So if you had just investable capital and you wanted to switch from investing in apartments or rental properties to notes, you wouldn't have to go do that much. But he was trying to figure out how to go make a full-time living out of this without a lot of money, right? So you did need a lot of knowledge to go be a go-to guy, right?
Yes.
And you did that really well.
Yeah.
I know a lot of your relationships. People trust you, and they should. People trust you. They trust your judgment. They trust how you do business, and you just do a great job at that. So let's talk a little bit about skills that it takes to find notes. What are those skills?
Well, it's just like any other business. I've found out this is not unique to any other business how you want to approach it, and you just have to, number one, make connections. And so my biggest connection is Eddie Speed and NoteSchool. So within that connection, I have branches of 1,000 people, let's just say, to throw a number out there, in different states, in different areas, and different skill sets of where they came from different real estate markets into this note market that you can tap into, and that you can also establish those relationships to reverse the other way for them to come to you if they have problems or deals in the area where you live, to where you can help them out.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's really digging into who's around you and just discovering what they do with their investable capital, how they invest their money, and then be a problem solver for them. Find out, be a good listener, right? And find out what they're looking for and how you can benefit them by providing whatever skill set in the note business we can offer them, whether it's, finding deals for them or helping them, convert something into a note deal to show them how they can be the bank.
I think for you, Justin, you had a good natural aptitude of being a good listener, of being a good common sense problem solver thinker. And then I just gave you a compression of time of what to figure out.
Yeah.
Right. I'd tried everything you could try. So I'm like, hey, do this, connect with them, be this to them. You need to know something. It doesn't mean you can know zero and do it well, but
Right.
Go do this because this is what they really need. And I'd already been through a lot of customers time you came along. And the truth of the matter is, there's always a spot that we're always looking for new troops, new people that we can train to go do what you did, because quite honestly, there's not enough people internally for us to do it. We're training new people to go build an army to go chase this, because there is a tremendous opportunity right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about. I want to stay on the newbie path for a little bit more before we kind of open up the story. And that is, what do you do? Like, how did you figure some of this out? How did you figure out the steps as a newcomer? You went to the deal labs and all that's great, but like, what was your communication? What was your strategy with your customers?
Well, I kind of have a good peripheral view of like what's happening in front of me and around me. So to speak. And what I mean by that is that I've watched other people operate a business. I've watched people specifically run a real estate business with wholesaling, flipping, landlording, and then the note business. And so what I discovered is that some people weren't taking this seriously like a business, and I saw how they weren't as successful as they could be. So I wanted to turn the dial up on how to be the most professional I can in this industry and have success, because other business verticals, you shouldn't be treating this any different than any other business that you just go into, whether it's you're selling a widget or you're, providing some sort of consulting service. And so the number one thing that I wanted to focus on was just be a professional,
Yes.
Look the part, act the part, and be the part. And so that was kind of a key way to where the things that you picked up on my characters, it holds true, because, I do what I say I'm going to do.
Yep.
I speak to them, I listen to them, and I give them my undivided attention when I'm talking with them. And I'm able to really resonate with people to where I can have more deals come my way or close more deals because of just those simple characteristics right there. So it's just being professional is like the first thing that got me in my foot into the door into a lot of things otherwise that I probably wouldn't be able to get into.
I can attest to that. I can attest to the fact that you first of all, you are a straight shooter. You're not hard to follow. You speak in a very common language, and you follow up and you listen to people and you continue to follow up and you show them that not only do you want the business, but you care about them and their success. And those are just, as you said, just good business traits. It's how people want to be treated.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Gigantic transition. You moved forward. You were an award-winning NoteSchool student. You progressed forward and you've had a fund and you've raised money yourself. And you and I've been way down the road with talking about all that. I reach out to you one day and I say, Justin, I want you to think the biggest you've ever thought. I want you to think with abundance. And that is, I want to figure out how you could come and run our trade desk at Colonial and help all these doctors and all these realtors and all these people that are busy doing something, provide an abundance of notes, and we'll find so many notes that we can still find enough notes for your fund as well.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, when the opportunity lands in front of you like that, the first thing you want to do is, get excited about it and then think about really how does this resonate with me? How will this work for me? What does that look like? And luckily, you not only are you my friend, but you are my mentor as well. And so I have a lot of trust with you. It was building that trust over many years on steering me in the right direction and then also watching me fail forward as well, help not giving me all the answers, but letting me learn, a little bit about difficult situations as well. So
yeah,
it was just an amazing opportunity and it all made sense to me. And it was really what I was looking for. In a time and space right now that we're in, it's difficult to raise capital in any business that you're doing, especially in real estate right now. It's just difficult. And so that was one of the main quagmires and for my fund is just raising a lot of private capital. The deals are out there and the deals are plentiful in my opinion, just because of the way that we're able to find things and then our connections as well.
Yeah.
And so it's just made a lot of sense. It's like, I don't have an issue on finding the connections and bringing the deals in. I have an issue with the capital and we've kind of solved that problem by partnering together.
Yeah. It's, NoteSchool attracts all these people that have investable capital, right? But they don't have access to deals. They're not on the phone every day. Quite honestly, they don't know who to talk to and they don't quite know what to say, right? They have, it's a learning curve to learn some of that. And they're thinking, man, if you could give me that compression of time and you could just go find me notes and all of a sudden I don't have to go make that part of my daily functions, and you were a perfect guy because you did learn all of the things you needed to learn. I'm fairly well known in the business, so I knew how to go find people with a lot of notes, right? With 50 notes or 150 notes or, 24 notes. And so you and I've worked together in using those same great traits that you have, which is connectivity and trustability and all those things. And yet at the same time, you and I've used some techniques that I kind of perfected along the way. Some of them also were just that I'm fairly well known, right? But I knew how to go find a volume of notes, kind of like most people in the business really don't know how, right? It only took me 45 years to figure this out, right? Right. So then all of a sudden you've really come along beside me and you're doing that. And we've found ourselves now, what we think, Justin, is an abundance of notes that with a long way in front of us, right?
Yes.
And that's a big deal because a lot of people want to do this. They're not going to find the notes. You don't, and the notes that we're finding are a select grade, right? We're pretty tough on the deals we let come through the system, right?
It's kind of like when you go to a fancy steakhouse, they're not going to give you the bad cuts of meat, right? They're going to give you the quality because that's what you're paying for, right? You're paying for quality, you're paying for premium. And that's the kind of inventory that we're fortunate enough to have that selectivity to where we can see a large selection of inventory, and we can cut out the stuff quickly that is not going to fit what we would want to do, nor would want anyone else to be buying that inventory either.
Yeah. I just out of curiosity for the audience, Justin, where do these notes come from?
They come from everywhere. They come from people that are what we call mom and pop sellers that create these notes. They come from operators that do thousands of property transactions a year, and everywhere in between. It's just it's in your backyard. It's your neighbor. It's you would be surprised at where all these deals come from. But it's back to what you said. It's the compression of time that you have figured out to help all of us move forward. And to get to the front of this inventory with connections and networking, and then being able to advertise to the right place with the least amount of resistance.
Yeah, these brokers that are out there in the marketplace, many of which I've known for a long time, right? Decades. We are a trusted funding source for them. So they bring notes to us and we price a lot of those, right?
Mm-hmm. We've got a pretty good network of brokers out there. So
the most knowledgeable brokers deal with us. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, they've definitely been in the business for a while. They know how to, present a deal to you. I mean, we look at probably a good at least 100 deals on average a month, just from one-off transactions from brokers that send us stuff, and several brokers are doing that. And obviously, the ones that have seasoning to them, they bring us deals, but they are able to provide us some sort of presentation that says this is why this deal is good. And that's what I like about it. It's easy to walk through the deal with someone that you know and trust that has that experience and says, I know you would buy this deal because you've bought 4 or 5 just like this from me. And then it just makes it easier.
Yeah. So we find guys that sell country land, that buy tracts, they break them up and owner finance them. That's a big source for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real estate investors buying houses. So all of that combined, Justin, your department, which is growing, by the way, pretty substantially. Your department might look at, 250 to 400 notes in 1 month.
Yeah. Probably
not many people in the world are going to see 250 to 400 seller finance notes in 1 month.
Yeah.
That's an abundance. And, but you do a good job of following up with these people, of consistently pricing them. We're always trying to help people with kind of formulas of how to make a better note. Like what's the best note you could make so it's worth the most money in the marketplace? All of those things are things that you're really doing back to what we initially talked about. You're just being a pro.
Yeah.
Communicating with them.
That's the most fun, is when what you talked about before is helping them perfect the note creation craft. They know enough to be dangerous, right? And they admittedly can say that out loud. Even operators that have been doing, hundreds to thousands of these transactions, a year or every couple of years, they know the basics of it, but we can fine tune it based on what we have knowledge on, what the market will bear, what the market will buy at.
Yeah.
And then we can help them get to that point to where they can create even more quality inventory for us to harvest.
Justin, I wrote a book in about 2000, and it was called Streetwise Seller Financing.
Okay.
In that book, in the beginning chapter, I said, an old banker once said to me something I'll never forget. The time to worry about a loan is before you make it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
A lot of truth in that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not even my saying, but I stole it because it's a good one.
You say it 3 times, right? And it's yours.
Yeah, exactly. Justin, your tenacity in this business, your desire to do it, your vision of how it was better for your family, both time and financially, to be in the note business and other things. And now all of a sudden you're progressed to 8 years later, you're doing one of the most important single things for my company, Colonial, that can be done, which is you're the rainmaker. You're the guy out there driving these deals. There's a number of people helping you, but you're driving these deals and making it happen, finding these notes. And buddy, I'm going to tell you, for this industry, you're doing something that very, very, very few people get the chance to do, or have positioned themselves to go do it well, and you have.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Joe?
So, Justin, I was sitting here thinking, and yes, 8 years ago in June is when we met in Indianapolis this month. Yeah, first of the month.
You want to know a funny story?
Yes.
All right. So Joe's in that first class, that teaser class is what I call it, to kind of get people's interest. And so he was at the Indianapolis RIA where we were at, and he was having a little difficulty on his Excel spreadsheet getting something to pull up. And so, me being a semi-cocky type of guy, I've dealt with spreadsheets for a long time and deal with database analytics. I went up there and said, "Oh yeah, I can probably help you with this." And I did not help him at all. I think I made things worse during the presentation. So I was just
Justin,
put my head down and walk back to my seat. So I just need to pay attention.
You put your tail between your legs. I remember that. I also remember that the meeting was there was a couple of hundred people in that room. We were at the country club there, one of the country clubs in Indianapolis. And the air was out. And the air was out. Yeah. Oh my God, it was a Saturday morning in June, and it was so freaking hot. But people stuck in there with us, dude.
That just shows how cool of a business model this is, the note business. They stuck it out during the sweat and humidity.
That's
Joe
right.
and I both did a lot of those events in the day, and Joe did it for years. Like, he was out at a RIA, Real Estate Investor Association, or some group and stuff. And we don't quite do it that way now. We have other people that speak for us doing some of that. It cuts down on Joe and I's fly time. But
yes,
we both gained a couple of million miles on American Airlines doing that. But, quite a journey. And then we got to meet people like you, Justin, that really just changed, why we did it. Our why became the big thing. So, Justin, thank you. You're awesome, dude.
Absolutely. And Eddie, and Justin, it's just like Eddie said, we're so proud of the progression you've made and all the things you've brought along with you that help, other new Note School students in the ecosystem. So we appreciate you, buddy.
Thanks. When you have passion about something and you believe in the product or service,
right,
you can put forth your entire heart into this business and turn it into something wonderful. And so I'm thankful for you guys. So I appreciate you guys.
All right, guys, there you have it. Another episode of Note School TV is in the can. Thank you so much for being with us this week. And certainly we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Have a great week.